Well, got a little work done. I really wish I could have had this sandblasted, but it wasn't an option. Neither was sitting here forever with a sander and working on it. I did wire brush everything. Used Purple Power on it, let it soak real good. Used the tire cleaner at the car wash. Blew it off with the car wash. It's pretty hot water. Blew it all off with that and then paint it. There is some pretty significant pitting here. That's got me a little worried. It's not as bad on that side. And then there's a little kink right there. And another one right here. If I was using this truck, if I was going to build this truck to go towing like every day with, I wouldn't do it. Or at least I would line the frame. But that wrecker will probably never be hooked up. It'll be for parades and looks. I can't. Winching stuff out would be the only thing I'd ever use it for. Towing, I'd use the flatbed trailer on the back here. But tomorrow I'll get 3 more cans. That's 2 cans of paint right there to do all this. That's 2 coats on this rail. And then 1 coat on the springs, 1 coat on the cross members, 1 coat on the bottom. So yeah, I think I'm gonna need 3 because 2 only went that far. And there's a couple spots we need to touch up, and I gotta do the axle, brake back in place. I'll use engine paint on the brakes. The brake drums will be roughly the same color. That's navy blue, and I'll use the Ford dark blue engine paint. This hub though, sticking out, that's gonna be Caterpillar yellow. Same with the front. That way it kind of keeps the theme, the white and yellow theme that the Courier has. But that's it for tonight. I'm going in. Tomorrow I'll go get the paint and I'll finish the job. And there you have it. It's not beautiful, but I mean, you're not really going to be able to see it. If you look in through the fender wells, you'll probably be able to see that much. I need to get in there and clean the paint off the Zerk fittings. I really probably should just replace them, but trying to avoid going to the store. I ran out of black paint, but I just covered up the overspray on the hitch. But there it is. All this wiring is going to get cleaned up anyway, replaced. It's already been spliced once right there. I think I probably did it. I'm just going to redo it all the way back and then wire in the wrecker taillights. That's it. This job's done. As far as I'm concerned, I'll take care of the rest of the black later. But I'm calling it a night. Been kind of busy today. A lot of wire brushing, a lot of cleaning, painting. The wheels off, now I need to sand and paint those rims. I'm gonna touch up those springs where the paint's real thin. You'll never be able to see them, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Touched up the paint. The mufflers where the blue overspray got on them. So, probably get the paint done tomorrow, maybe. It's supposed to rain, so maybe not. And then we'll get the tires mounted. I'll go show you those. Alrighty. So if you remember, before I left Washington last year, I tried to find tires. So I tried to find tires in the 17.5. Nobody could find me anything for at least a week. So I went ahead and just ran on a hope and a prayer and hoped that the tires, or at least the steer tire, didn't blow out. They were pretty rotten. They were from 08, I believe, or 04, I don't remember. But they were really rotten. So I finally got tires. Yay, tax return. And let me show you. So these are two 1575 17.5s. Skinny. I wanted the old school mud and snow tire, you know, like from the 50s and 60s, ones that look like this. But they were out of stock. So these are the next best ones I could get. I could not get them in a 235, which is what these are. And I'm hoping I don't regret this decision, because the wider front tire is going to make it kind of wander all over the place. But I could not get this tread line. I wanted tread that would look correct for a 61. I didn't want a new modern style tread pattern. You know, I wanted something like what's on the trailer over there, something like a pie cut tire, and that's what I found. I couldn't find these in 215. All I could find was a modern steer tire, trailer tire that had just these straight, absolutely straight treads, looked modern as hell. Now the local tire shop had some in one of their warehouses. They wanted $280 a piece for them. They were 6 years old. Now, I don't care what people want to tell you. Tires do have a shelf life. 6 years is the end of their life. I would not trust a tire. I would put them on and run them for a year or two, but not for $280. And they weren't willing to adjust the price. These cost me, let's see, these were $169 a piece. These were $189 a piece. They were made in Taiwan. Yeah, it's going to cost me $35 a tire to have them mounted. Balanced. So I'm still coming out cheap. And these will get put on when I get the rims painted. Let's see, the load. 4,440 pounds per tire. That's at 125 PSI. I'm not going to run them that hard. This one is 5,510 pounds at 125 pounds. I'm not going to run them that hard. I'll run probably 60 pounds, maybe 80 pounds in the front, 60 or 50 in the rear. We'll see. I'm hoping they're not any shorter than what I had. I think they might be, which could slow me down a little bit. But anyway, we'll see. Tomorrow, hopefully it won't rain, and we'll get busy on the rims. Till then, ciao. Okay, here we are a couple days later. These are all the wheels. I gotta get them painted. The only reason I spent the time to mask this one off, this is the spare. I'm keeping the tire. It's not really that great, but it's definitely better than that. It'll be good for a spare. I'm not gonna waste my time sanding all these down. They really need to be sandblasted. I just need to get some paint around that edge there, because you won't be able to see the rest of it through the brake drum. Obviously that needs to be all painted. Those are the front wheels. Flip them over, and then the outside's the important part. That one and these two, just like I said, on the rim. The problem is my paint supplies are all down at the class. So I need to go into town and buy some reducer, because I don't have any, and I'm gonna shake the paint. I threw those rugs on the front of the truck to keep overspray off the grill, just in case. We do have a north wind. It feels like it's coming from the northeast. Yeah. So, okay, off to town. Alrighty. So I wanted to run out here and just take a look really quick. It's kind of cold, but it's going to be even colder tomorrow. So we finished this up at dusk. And there's a couple little runs. No big deal. Especially now, you know, this truck is fine. You can live with a few runs. So those are the two front tires. This is one of the outside rears. And this one I had it upside down for a long time, so we did end up with some bigger runs in this. But it'll be fine. These are the inside rears. And they came out pretty good. And this is the outside rear. See, I'm pretty happy. Oh, and the spares. I keep forgetting about the damn spare. I'm not going to flip it over here for camera, but yeah, it came out all right. This one runs. It's a little too cold to be painting, but it's supposed to be like 37 tomorrow, so this should cure up pretty good overnight, I guess. Maybe too early to mount tires. So the last few times I've driven this thing, the gauges haven't worked. And no gas gauge, no temperature gauge, and I hate that. Of course, this is an idiot light, and this, you know, is separate. And it works, but it kind of bounces around all over the place. These have been known for causing fires. And part of the problem is this. I'll show you. You get this little piece of paper here. And that's what insulates that from here. So you have battery voltage going into the gauge and then going out of the gauge to all your loads, and that's what senses how much is pulling. But you have full battery voltage, no fuse or anything. So when that cuts through that paper and grounds out, that's when your truck burns down. So a lot of guys will just bypass the gauge. But I think if you replace this with like a piece of plastic or something, piece of wood, I think you'd be okay. So I'm going to do that while I have it apart. The other thing I need to do, I need to lube up the speedometer. It seems to be doing fine, but I did break a cable on the way, although I don't think the cable broke. It had a, here it is, I think. No, it had a plastic end on it that was like glued to the end of the cable, and that's actually came off the cable. So, but you got, they use this butyl sealer between the metal ring here and the glass, which is actually glass, and it melted out, and it looks like hell. So I think these gauges are easy enough to disassemble. This one is hard, but it's not a problem. I'm going to clean up the chrome, polish it out, get rid of all that butyl, replace it with a piece of foam or something. And the cellophane inside there, I don't think you can really see it because of all the crap on the lens there and the reflection. Let me try this. Maybe. Anyway, the cellophane that makes the red, you can see it's faded and it's not very smooth looking. I may replace it if I can find something easy and quick. I don't know. But due to this thing living in Washington, and how damp it is, you see how rusty, like the ashtray and this gauge face. Now this is supposed to have like a splatter paint effect on it, which is all but gone. I'm gonna, when I take this all apart, I'm gonna bead blast this at school Wednesday, and I'm gonna wrinkle finish it black. So if you wrinkle finish it and spray it and let it dry, the wrinkles are really big and inconsistent. If you spray it and then throw it in your oven, the instructions should be on the side of the can. They come out real tight and factory looking, so I'm gonna do that. But right now I'm gonna get this disassembled first. And there we have it. Now, on the trip out here, I did have an issue with it. The gauge is not working, and it wasn't making a good enough ground. So I tried scraping it, because it just grounds through the screws, but it wasn't getting a good enough ground. I did that, and I scraped it here. But, you know, it's pretty rusty everywhere, and of course this is too. So what I'm going to actually do is make a ground wire, and it'll ground to these studs. It'll come over here and then go to the speedometer stud and then back to this stud. That way everything is grounded on the backs of the gauges here, and make damn sure it's good. But there's that. Disassembling these fairly easily. I really want to paint the needles. A lot of people say you paint the needles and then they don't work right. I don't know if that's true. I've never had an issue. Speedometer is pretty faded. It seems like it's pretty well oiled. It turns just fine, but there's a little spot there. I'm gonna clean that out with a Q-tip and then put some oil down in there. Use some 10 weight. Yeah, you can look inside there and see the cellophane. It's pretty wrinkled up. A lot of people say, why don't you put LEDs in it? This is 1961. LEDs didn't exist back then, and I want to keep it as period correct as possible. So here is the turn signals. This is a little green plastic disc, and these are made out of paper. These here, you got to be really careful with those. These are probably pretty brittle too, but I need to clean that up, and I will probably clear coat them because it makes them more translucent that way. But yeah, all that needs to be restored, and all this caca, you can see it there dripping down. Look at this ammeter here. You can see the needle, how it just kind of bounces. Yeah, I don't like that. Nothing I can really do about it unless I just want to bypass the gauge, which I could do. I don't want to, but I could do it. Well, anyway, time to get to work. That's done. I would like to do the shifter as well, but there's a lot more involved to removing that than there is just a few screws. And while I'm at polishing that chrome, we'll polish this. I'll polish the radio. The next job I'm going to jump on, I'm going to pull this spacer off, and I'm going to cut 1 inch out of it. So basically this hole that I drilled in it to put this Ford switch in, which I don't have hooked up to anything yet, I'm going to cut that out. And that'll move the steering wheel up a little higher so it's not blocking the gauges, and it's not in my big old belly here. So it'll be up here, which is where I want it. I have to be careful to watch out for the angle where it passes through the floor, because as this is going to come up, it's also going to push it closer to the dashboard. But you got the shaft running through there and the hollow tube. I don't think there's a bushing on the bottom. It's like this cab has settled over the years to the point that the, hear that? To the point that the shaft is rubbing on the tube, because the tube has settled down onto the shaft. So when I move this up, it should rotate just above that point, and I think it'll push the top of the tube into the shaft even harder. So I may have to get inside there and move the bottom up as well. Well, realistically, if I move the bottom up 3 inches, move this up 2 inches, or 2 and 4, that would probably be about perfect. But then the shaft is probably too short, so then it would be right up against this thing. And I've actually got that somewhere. I have a visor, a chrome visor, but I decided not to use it because of that reason, and because there isn't any other real chrome in this cab. It's pretty Spartan. But anyway, I'm gonna go get some penetrating oil, because I'm sure those are going to be rusted. Get those sprayed and then start taking it apart. So I took 1 inch out of it. Decided 2 inches was too much. I'm just going to weld it with the flux core. It'll be plenty strong, And as I gotta grind it and paint it, you won't be able to see it anyway. And so, bear with me here. There we go. About to move it to there, which I think is plenty. I can always take more off of it if I decide. All right, so there it is. Looks like I got a little dirt blowing in it. Anyway, I was gonna fill it and sand it and make it all perfect, but I don't really care. Especially if I'm gonna cut this and take more out of it. But I think this will be enough. I think we'll be all right. When I do paint all this, sand it all down and paint it, then I'll go ahead and put a little filler in it and make it look better. So we got that. I went ahead and took care of this. And then these had all that gray overspray on them, so took care of that. I was working on the gauges while I was waiting for this stuff to dry, but let me get this back on and we'll see where we're at. Well, there it is. See, now we got more space between my belly. We still got enough space up here. I'm not jamming my knuckles in there. It's just about the perfect angle, actually. I like it. I like it a lot. I could probably, there's enough space in the holes there where you can kind of move it side to side. I might loosen it back up and come back over this way a little bit with it, maybe. Otherwise, it's fine. It's fine. It's perfect. I don't think I need to cut any more out of it. And that spray can I got is a pretty good match for this gray. And this has been clear coated, so it's actually a little more yellow, I think, because of the clear coat. But even without it, it's pretty much there. That came out pretty good then. I'm actually pretty happy with myself. Yep. Okay. So that job's complete. I gotta find some SOS pads. Try to take the speedometer apart. The other gauges are really easy to get apart, but this one, not so much. I want to paint that needle. But really, the only way to do it is to kind of pry this lip carefully. I don't know, I might work on it. Let's see what happens. The date code, September 15th, 1960. Yeah, it'd be nice to get that all cleaned up. All right, so I'm gonna go in and get those other parts all prepped and cleaned up. I'll go ahead and leave this bracket here because it doesn't need to be with me. These things, I usually take my clear coat and soak this cardboard with the clear coat just for a little extra strength. I don't know if it does a whole hell of a lot, but again, these things are typically so brittle they just crumble in your hands, and so I don't want them falling apart while I'm working on them. And these just need to be cleaned up, and I'll put a clear coat on them too. Those are my green lens caps. All right, time to go back in. All right, got a coat of black paint on those. Let them sit and put another coat on them, and I think that's all I'm gonna need to do on that. Okay, the front tires, wheels on. I'm gonna get the stainless steel caps to go over the nuts, so I didn't bother. I was gonna paint them yellow, but they get all ruined when I tighten the wheels up, so I just left it. And I need to clean the wheels off from all the, stuff they use at the tire shop. Now the tire guy, I need to go up right now, up north to the big truck place and have those mounted, because he had a hell of a time getting these on. They're 18 ply. He actually tore the bead on the other one, and hopefully it won't leak, but we'll find out. I'm not real happy with how wide they are. I'd much rather have had them the 215s or even 205s, but beggars can't be choosers. The only way I could get a skinnier tire was to get basically the trailer tires, which were rated for steer, but they had an absolute straight tread pattern like this. Anyway, to me that does not look, it looks like a semi-truck trailer tire. Like with this, it looks more like a vintage tire that could have been on this truck in 1961. The tread pattern looks like old school. That's really what I wanted. Plus I want, you know, even though it's two-wheel drive, I want a little bit of traction on the front, you know, for if I do have to go someplace where it's real muddy. I want it to be able to turn and not be sliding off in the ditch. So we'll see. Here's another look at the column. Yeah, you know, you can see the grinding marks, but I don't care. Yeah, I'm real happy with where that's sitting now. Angle isn't horrible, but I think when I do the power steering, depending on how I mount the box, if I mount it up in front of the axle like it was on the RV, I may have to move this up to about there, which is going to change this angle. Basically, I'll put the column in like a two-wheel drive truck. So this will be sitting right up to here to the dashboard. There won't be a spacer anymore. And then that'll be going in wherever it went on the two-wheel drive truck. It'll have a better angle. It'll be higher up there and away from my pedals. But if I can mount the power steering box where the existing steering box is, it'll have to stay where it's at. But for now, that's so much better. Okay, back to work. This is my solution for not scratching up this hub. This little soda cup. Oh, got that broken bolt out of there. It's a hollow bolt. It serves two purposes. One, to hold the T down, and two, it acts as a vent. I believe I took this one out of the original axle because that one was busted. But we're going to throw it in. The old one, I got lucky. It came out just finger tight, so I didn't have to work on it too hard. All right, there we are. It looks pretty good, although it's giving me kind of the vibe like the Isuzu NPR or the Hino, the ND, the little Japanese 1.5-ton trucks. It's kind of making me feel that, which I'm not real happy about. But you won't be able to see them too much underneath that wrecker. I need to go around with the torque wrench and make sure everything's tight. And then eventually, I'm going to buy the stainless caps. That'll be it. Still working on the gauges tonight. I'm going to take those with me and bead blast the stuff tomorrow. Wrinkle finish, reinstall. I'm gonna bake it in the oven, so it ought to be done pretty quick. I went ahead and took care of that, and I started to get the parking brake cable situated. So I went ahead and got this bracket bolted down with an existing bolt. I need to drill another hole, another bolt. And then back here, we're gonna have to come up with some kind of a bracket to put the two cables into. But there really isn't any room. Like, it looks like there's plenty of room here, but you've got the spring hanger in the way. So it looks like this ridge is the only place where I could possibly put it, and I don't really know if I want to drill into that. So right behind that ridge, like here, it's about the only other place I could put it. So we'll have to get creative. I'm gonna look and see what's on that Ford. I might just use them, but when I put the gauges back in, I'm gonna go ahead and run this thing up and try to see if I can't get the drive shaft a little bit more balanced. I figure I could have this thing in high gear running at 2,000 RPM and get a pen or a screwdriver down in here and actually mark where the problem is. Let's see. Okay, that's it for now. I'm gonna get these tires loaded up. They wanted $7 each to dispose of these tires. I've got places that will take them a lot cheaper than that, so I'm gonna load them up and get rid of them, and then head on into class. Okay, so last night I got this done. Now the abrasive media in our bead blaster is very worn out. As a matter of fact, we've gone to dumping it back into the machine. So it didn't do an incredible job, but it did get enough job. So this is going to get some self-etching primer. See how bad the rust is down on the bottom there. I'm surprised I didn't blow holes in it. So all of that's going to get etching primer. All of this is going to get etching primer. These are the screws, and they're in terrible shape. They're supposed to be chrome, and they're very specific. So rather than just replace them with some random screw, I'm just going to etch primer them and then paint them black. So after the etch primer's on there and they're more or less cured, I'm going to get some, I have some silver paint. I'm going to paint down the side here because even the chrome plating on this was in bad shape. So I'll take care of that, mask it off, and then the wrinkle finish gets put on there. But before that, preheat the oven. I don't remember what temperature, but it's written on the can. You preheat the oven, spray the etch primer, put it in the oven for like an hour, and then it makes the real tight factory looking wrinkles and it cures the paint all in one shot. So it's about 3:30. I need to get all this stuff done tonight. So I'm gonna get busy. Okay, we got the wrinkle finish on. There's 3 heavy coats. It looks like it's kind of starting to wrinkle in a couple spots. But I got the stove or the oven preheated. We're gonna run them over there and get them in there. Okay, that's just shy of 20 minutes in. It's already wrinkled up pretty nicely. Let's hope it doesn't stink the house up too bad. We'll see what happens in another hour and 42 minutes. And there we have it. It came out pretty good. As a matter of fact, it came out so well that it really makes all this stuff look like crap. How corroded it all is. I'll keep my eyes open and find some better rings. There's a couple of NOS gauges on eBay, but they're, you know, 300 bucks. So I'm not paying them. Of course, if these ones don't work, then I'd probably have to. So we're gonna get this back together. Once it's all buttoned back up, I've got some fresh butyl to clean off the lenses. But yeah, that came out pretty nice. Painted the needles. Paint color's not quite right, but it looks better than faded. Painted that guy red because it was faded to white. Clear coated these guys. Those look nice. The screws were so pitted, even after blasting them, that I just painted them black. If they were pretty smooth, I would have polished them, maybe painted them silver, but they're so corroded. So, oh well, I'll find some better screws later. But all right, I'm gonna get busy putting this thing back together. Okay, battery's plugged in. No smoke. Let's see what happens here. Oh, ammeter's working. I wish it didn't move around so much. Let's see, do the lights work? Yep. You can see a faint glow. I can't tell on the speedometer. It might need to be grounded. Yep. High beam light lights up. I don't know if I have the keys with me. Damn. Nope, I do not. Okay, I'll have to go in the house to get the keys and check the signals. The oil pressure idiot light. And fire it up. Okay, here goes. Turn the ignition on. Okay, we've got the oil pressure idiot light. Gas gauge is working. We have turn, turn, 4 V's. We have trailer brakes. Yeah, looks like we're doing pretty good. Okay, let's fire this thing up. Remember, no choke. Well, I got the choke cable in. It's just not connected to the carburetor. I just never bothered with it. This kind of matches the rest of them. I actually have a factory Chrysler vacuum gauge which matches this perfectly, but the face is completely rusty. You can't read any characters on it. That's what I was talking about, the ammeter. I think it's time for a regulator. Just switching back and forth. Brake booster. So you notice how it doesn't drop into gear like it should. You don't feel anything, but it moves. I don't know. I probably should drop the reverse. That's neutral, but as you can see, that's neutral. Wheels being bent. Okay, we're going to put it in drive. We got second gear. There's third. I honestly don't know how tight those wheels are. They're tight enough, I'm not worried about them falling off. But I haven't torqued them yet. Wow, that looks weird on camera. That inner rim bent. I don't remember it ever being like that. Oh well, I don't think it's going to cause me any problems. had to go through all the issues with balancing the drive shaft, or at least as close as I could get it. I just need something to mark the high spot of the drive shaft with. Maybe that. Okay, I just took Casper on a little test drive. I didn't take you guys along with me because I really wanted both hands on the wheels, steering wheel, just in case something did something weird. One thing I was afraid of was death wobble, being that these steer tires are quite a bit wider than the factory, or the 750 17.5s. These 235 17.5s are quite a bit wider. I was afraid I might end up with some death wobble or some serious wander or something weird, so I wanted to make sure both hands are on the wheel. But nothing like that. Maybe a little bit of wander, but probably no more than what I had before. Speedometer is accurate, at least within a mile an hour. I did a nice smoky burnout. You know, there's no weight on the back, so I guess it doesn't count. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even notice noise coming off the back tires. Everything seemed fine. I will say one thing, the steering is a lot lighter now. I don't know how much air is in the front tires, but I haven't hit any bumps. I did spend the morning pulling the shock mounts off the back axle. Let me show you here. So I pulled those off the rear axle. You can see how to touch up the paint, no big deal. But the bolt spacing is still too narrow for the front U-bolts, so I'm going to have to come out about a 1/4 inch on each side. So tomorrow, I think when I go to class, I'll just use the plasma cutter and hog those out. Hopefully the thing will hold up and won't melt on me. I did drive it without the platform or whatever. I didn't really notice too much gravel getting flung. And to be honest with you, I don't think it would hit the back window because, the wheels are out here. So maybe I'll just drive it without it. Let's see what it did to the paint already. Yeah, I definitely need to do something about the exhaust. It's just too small. Drive shaft vibration still there, but it doesn't seem as bad. And all I did was move the weights a little closer to center. I still need to find something to anchor my parking brake cable so I can get that working. The shocks that I was going to use, they were practically brand new on the motorhome. I was going to repaint them and put them on, but they were upside down apparently and were full of water and they're completely rusted, so they're junk. But you can see my wheels and tires. Looks good. Looks damn good. Tightened up that leaky tranny hose. It's too bad those tires are just not, a little skinnier. They were more like the rears. I'd be happier with them, but I'm not too disappointed with them. Alrighty. I think that's all I'm gonna get done today. Tomorrow's class, so I will probably drive it to school. And I'll take those brackets and try to hog them out. Alrighty, that's it for today. I will post this up and we'll do those on another video. Until then, keep it safe.